stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I will recognize each station before continuing. Any station who wishes to check into the net, please come now.
Norway 6 Yankee, Germany. George and Lincoln.
November 6 Whiskey Lima Mike, Bill and Roseville.
Alpha India 6 Delta Golf, good evening.
Yeah, and this is Killer Pop 4 Mike, Delta Carol, set your side.
All right, I have George N6YG and Bill N6WLM and Joel AI6DG and Carol KP4MD. Who else would like to check in tonight? All right, well, that's 5 of us. Let's start with George, November 6, Yankee Golf. George, are you ready to share an image? This is AE6JG.
I think so. Let me make sure I'm all set up to go. I didn't have much time to prep. Busy working here, so let's see if we have a tone first.
Yep. Thanks, George, N6YG, AE6JG. Joel, comments on what looks to me to be a big VNA loop.
Okay, so we've got a bunch of stuff sitting on a table, wall in the background, power outlet on the left, a new style digital storage, oscilloscope, nice big screen, color. Next to that, sitting a nice power supply. Looks like we're at 9 volts and I don't know, 19 milliamps or something. Anyway, we've got three digital displays: 0900 at the top, 0019 in the middle, and 0001 at the bottom. A box to the right of that with parts, adapters, little. Below that, a Nano VNA, so I'm assuming that's the box that the Nano VNA came in and the various adapters and parts for it. And on the Nano VNA, we've got 2 coaxes going out, I don't know what's at the top of the loop, a bunch of adapters, and on the bottom we have a little box, again with more adapters, On the Nano VNA, we got a really nice display of a sharp bandpass. So it's a bandpass. So it's got a pretty nice looking curve for a bandpass filter, and a couple of probes going to the box to the oscilloscope. So yeah, interested in hearing more as to what we're testing and how the setup is working. So nice setup, nice testing. I'm sure it was a very successful test. Back to that AI6DG.
Thanks, Joel. AI6DG. Carol, KB4MD, comments?
Yeah, okay, this is KP4MD. I have a situation here that happened before. What George does is he sends a tone, and the tone is actually the beginning of the picture, of a picture, which then he starts sending a picture again after a period. So the MMS TV is expecting to get a picture, and then when he does a second picture, the raster is already like 20% down the window. So I've got actually two pictures. The first one is the top 80% of the picture, and the second one is the bottom 20% of the picture. So the only way I could see the first part is to go back to the history and roll it back, because that happened so quickly. I didn't have a chance to clear the screen and start from the top again. I was busy doing other stuff here. But yeah, I do see what looks like a spectrum analyzer and power supply, and what looks like a Nano VNA, and looks like there's a device there with it's a little black box, and it's got the power going to it, and you've got a okay, it's like you're doing a I don't know if it's a bandpass filter. That's kind of what it looks like, because it looks like it's doing a frequency response of a filter. That's exactly what it looks like. But I wonder if that's an amplifier, because it's got power going to it. I'm suspecting that's what we're dealing with. We're probably dealing with an amplifier, and it looks like there's a possibly an attenuator in the line on going to the input of the amplifier. That's what it looks like. Back to you, is KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. George, N6YG, what are we looking at?
Carolyn, hold on. That background radio down. Carol and Joel had it pretty much right. Let's see. In this picture, you are looking at a $10, well, that's what I paid for it. I got it off Facebook Marketplace, an advanced receiver research 432 gas FET preamp. And it's receive only. And of course, a Nano VNA, I'm doing an S21 measurement on it, looking at its peak gain. I believe it was like 21 dB at 437, and it's something like minus 11 dB at 146. So it's got some rejection in the 2 meter band, which is what you want. And yeah, there's a couple of HP attenuators. I don't normally like using those in test bench setups. Those are my calibration standards that I use for checking others. But I don't have any SMA attenuators. At least I don't have any that high. I had to put about 20 dB of attenuation in line because the output of the Nano VNA is pretty high. It saturates the preamp. And the oscilloscope is actually measuring switching noise on the power supply clipped to the same input leads as the power supply is. Joel almost had it right. 19 milliamps, 9 volts and 19 milliamps. Very impressed. I was able to take this amplifier all the way down to 3 volts, and it was still operational. It was I didn't see how high it can go. I went up to 13.8 and it did fine, so it has a pretty wide voltage input. These are nice little amplifiers. And I picked up a couple of Dow key coaxial relays reset off of eBay, new old stock, that are good to almost a kilowatt. So I'm going to turn this into a transmit and receive preamplifier by putting 2 coaxial relays as bypasses on it. 12-volt relays. This operates off 12 volts. So you'll hook a sequencer up to it, and when you transmit, it'll bypass it. The only component left that I still need to get for this project is a cable box, if I can find one. I used to have a couple. When people move or get rid of their cable, I snatch up cable boxes to make good outdoor weatherproof cases. So if I can find one of those, I'll have it all put together. So that's what you're looking at. N6YG.
Thank you, George. N6YG, AE6JG. This is River City Arc Slow Scan TV, Wednesday nights. Anyone else like to join us? Bill, N6WLM. Are you ready to share a photo?
This is November 6 Whiskey Lima Mike. I am. Let me do a quick tone.
Quick question for George.
Joel, let me just move on. Bill, go ahead. We got tone.
Okay, this will be PD120, and I actually don't know what this is, so we'll figure it out together. N6WLM.
Bill, N6WLM. This is James, AE6JG. Boy, I got an excellent copy. There's some pixel pops, but the color and the contrast, the depth is great. Very, very interesting. Joel, AI6DG, do you want to comment on that?
Well, we've got a bunch of copper braid. I don't know if it's the outside of a pipe or tube, or if it's just the braid, or if it's coax or what. But we've got hose clamps around the ends of these braids onto kind of a metal ferro cone type of thing. taper, so it's big, the biggest on the very end, and it narrows down as it goes closer to the hose clamp that's holding it onto the ferrule or whatever it is. And I'm completely confused because I don't know if I'm looking at RF or automotive or plumbing or what. I mean, it almost looks like plumbing, but there'd have to be a thing on the inside of it, you know, a nut, a knob that you use to twist it onto another end, onto the threads of something else, and then the ferrule would make a good tight seal. But or the taper would against the nut that's tightened against it, but that's not there. No chance of getting it on there. What with the hose clamps? So I don't even know where to start. Back to net, AI6DG.
Thanks, Joel. George, N6YG, what do you think it is?
I don't know. Is that like an early quick disconnect? I'm not sure. The box in the background almost looks like a Kodak box, but I'm not even sure that's copper. Maybe a fabric manila type of coating, because I don't see it. That's hard to tell. I have no idea what I'm looking at. I wouldn't assume that it's RF. Hose clamps are just generally something you don't find around feed line. It is something that you would find around plumbing or around air. Maybe it's a quick disconnect for some sort of pneumatic system. So that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if anybody knows what these are. N6YG, back to net.
Thanks, George. Okay, Bill, N6WLM, what do you think these are?
You know, I don't know. I was hoping the hive mind here would be able to figure it out. These bells are, they feel like they're steel. I haven't checked if they're ferrous or not, and they're about 2 inches on diameter in the larger part, and it kind of tapers down like Joel said. And it's just a hollow tube inside it, and then it has a hose clamp with braid around it, and the braid is hollow, and the braids aren't very long. It seems like someone cut them at one point. But they came in a box related to ham radio that I picked up at a garage sale. So it has to be radio related, and I have no idea what they are. So I thought maybe somebody would see this and be like, oh, it's XYZ thing. But yeah, I think it's maybe some kind of old grounding system, but I just don't understand these bells and how they fit into everything. So I guess the mystery continues. So sorry we can figure this one out, and maybe you guys can think about it and tell me later. N6WLM, back to that.
Well, nevertheless, it's a great photo. Okay, Joel, AI6DG, your turn.
So George, do you still need those fiberglass poles?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make extra effort to get those to you the next couple of days. So did you say 2-inch diameter? Maybe this is for shielding. Maybe you're supposed to just put coax or wires inside of them.
I think you could fit smaller coax through it before the connectors are on, so could be something like that. I'll take more pictures and put it on Discord. Maybe you guys can figure it out. N6WLM.
Okay, I got an image ready. PD 120.
AI60G, AE6JG. All right. Well, that's the inside of a computer, maybe? Or a radio. Carol, KP4MD, comments on Joel's image. It came through really good, Joel. Carol, go ahead.
Okay, this is KP4MD. Very interesting. I see what looks like a I don't know, is that that black cable coming in through the hole? It looks like it's going into a power, a DC power socket. Oh, that little rectangular uh, uh, thing there in the lower right-hand corner. I believe that Joel sent a picture of that maybe last week. I'm gonna go through my history here. Was it last week or maybe the week before? There it is. This was a frequency reference. Okay, it's a frequency reference, and it's now mounted inside this other. This must be a transceiver. I'm guessing that you have a. Okay, this is a radio of some sort, and you've put a high stability frequency reference in there, and you've got a couple of wires, just these black and orange wires, kind of tacked on to the SMA output connector there, and I guess going to the part of the circuit that requires the reference frequency. That's all I can say. I think I've seen the inside of this radio before too, and I don't remember what it is. So back to Net Controls, KP4MD.
Thanks, Carol. Who hasn't talked enough? All right, Bill, N6WLM, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Carol. This looks like the 10 megahertz reference oscillator that Joel showed us before. So this must have went into his Ham Fest Pacificom purchase, and hopefully he's gotten it working. I see there's some jumper wires to probably power it, but I don't see the actual two outputs plugged into anything. Oh no, I see what he did. He used the jumper wires to feed in the signal instead of using a small run of coax, and then the power cords coming into that black thing. So very interesting. I'm wondering, did it work? I guess we'll find out. N6WLM, back to that.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Joel, AI60G, what are you working on there?
So the Pacificon purchase was an HP 5334A frequency counter, and they can get different options in those. And one of the options is a high stability, high precision frequency standard, which it didn't come with. This is a complete total kludge of an install, but yes, you've seen pictures of the inside of this frequency counter as well as pictures of this frequency standard. Frequency standard's only $20. It's kind of an amazing what you can get for $20 these days, but it's significantly more accurate than what the stock cheapy default one in the frequency counter is. The default one is actually in the extreme upper left of the screen, and you might see a little metal round can, and that's the crystal. For a while, it was actually test feeding, left that default oscillator in the circuit and fed this oscillator into it, and it was drifting all over the place. So just on the temperature of the room, morning, night, the air conditioner kicking on, and I'd get a hertz or two or more drift, 10 hertz maybe. I don't remember how big the drift was, but a whole bunch of the numbers at the bottom changed. So this is and after I've installed it, I got two of these oscillators. With this oscillator in place and running, it's rock solid, flipping only between all nines or one and all zeros. So it's within probably less than a tenth of a hertz stability between the two of them. the 7.5 volts. I got a couple of 7.5 volt wall power supplies. You know, the little bricks that you plug into an outlet. 7.5 volts because this will run at from 7 up to 14 volts or so. But 12 volts, I tried it at 12 volts and it got really hot. And when I tried the 7.5 volt that this plug is feeding it, it's fairly warm. Definitely worth. I popped out one of the plugs for uninstalled options, so that hole on the extreme left is where a B and C would go if you had some types of options. I need to better do that. I probably need to get a strain relief. And it's hot glued to the circuit board on the bottom. Let me let it drop. So I used hot glue to glue a piece of plastic from a potato salad container to the circuit board of the frequency counter, and then glued the oscillator onto the top of that. That's so that I don't have any chance of shorts, and then tacked a couple of pieces of wire from the connector to a couple of places on the frequency counter. One of them's to the ground wire on the chip, so that the chip in the upper left, pin 8 is ground, so I just tacked one wire to that, and the signal wire coming out of the oscillator, I lifted a cap off the circuit board, one lead off, and soldered to that lead that's sticking up in the air. You can't really see that in this photo. Anyway, it seems to be working quite well. I got 2 of those oscillators. I'll probably use the second one as the frequency standard for my flex. I was going to use it on other frequency counters I have floating around, but they all seem to want 1 megahertz instead of 10 megahertz. I guess technology has changed and everything uses 10 now, and back then it was all 1. Back to Net DI6DG. Sorry for taking so long.
Thank you, Joel. Very interesting. I always learn from all of you on every net, and I appreciate that. Carol, KP4MD, are you ready to share an image?
Okay, yeah. This will be PD120.
Thanks, Carol. This is James, AE6JG. This is the River City Arcs Wednesday night slow scan TV net. And Carol, that's a very ghostly, interesting image of, I don't know, an amplifier. Very, very interesting. Let's ask George N6YG.
Yeah, I recognize this construction. Some people love it, some people don't. Point-to-point wiring underneath. Yeah, a couple tubes. So, image came over pretty good. It's really, looks like it's like really blown up, like zoomed in. So, yeah, I don't have much more to add to that. N6YG.
Thanks, George. Joel, AI6DG.
Wow, that's fuzzy. So is this maybe a photograph of a photograph? Yeah, we've got a chassis, some tubes sticking up on the left. On the right, those could be power caps for power supply. It's pretty zoomed in, so we can't really tell what the circuit could be. So it could be this could be power tubes, a final, or it could be just normal tubes in a receiver. Not much info. It's just so fuzzy and so zoomed in. So, yep, got to hear the description. Back to net AI6DG.
And Bill, N6WLM. All right, Carol, KP4MD, this is AE6JG. What are we seeing here?
Okay, yeah, this is KP4MD. This it is extremely it's zoomed in. This was an instamatic photograph that I took back in I would say around 74, 75, and this was an amplifier, exactly, an amplifier that I built. The two tubes that you're seeing with the plate caps are 60Q6 sweep tubes that were scavenged from old black and white TV sets, because people are throwing out TV sets left and right when they get rid of their black and whites and get colored sets. And that transformer behind them, you might see a big hefty transformer, was one of the power transformers out of the TVs. Back then, they didn't have these AC/DC circuits with live chassis. This was actually a power transformer. It had B plus, of course, and a filament winding as well. And the B plus was center tapped. So what I did was I took the secondary, which is the center tap secondary, and used that as the primary, with each end going to one of the plate caps there. And so we used the 60Q6s and push-pull into the secondary, and then the primary was going in series with the B plus to the plate of the 807s on my Globe Chief. This is a plate modulator. The cans to the right of the 60Q6s, the one on the extreme right is a 12AX7 speech amplifier, and there's another buffer amplifier to the left, which is a 12AU7, and I have those in cans over the tubes. They used to have these cans that you could slip over tubes to give them a little shielding. And I'm trying to remember, let's see, in the, really fuzzy, the right lower corner, there's an RCA phono jack, which is what I plugged the microphone into. And I think I had a couple of potentiometer there on the front panel of this steel chassis. The thing actually worked. I had to use a separate power supply for it, of course, but it actually did work. And It's really grainy because it's like from an Instamatic photo, and but you got it right. The first guess was an amplifier, it's a modulator actually. So back to Nets, KP for MD.
It's a really, really good photo and a good story. Thanks, Carol. Before I send my photo, let me see if there is anybody else who's joined us. All right, here goes. This will be PD 120. That came through really well on YouTube. Carol, KP4MD, what do you think this is?
Well, pretty obviously this is a view outside of a window of a jet, and now you see the front of the jet engine, and you're looking over what looks like a valley. Um, Interesting, just underneath the cloud ceiling there, and light shining apparently through a break in the clouds and lighting up that valley between those mountains. That is a very interesting view. Can't tell you where it is, but it's a really beautiful picture. Back to Nets, KP Firm.
Thanks, Carol. Bill, N6WLM.
Yeah, great copy here. Not too many pixel pops. Looks like you had a really good seat in the airplane. Overlooking some kind of valley. Don't know where this could be, but a beautiful shot. I really like the clouds and the aspect of the engine being right there in the frame too. That's pretty cool. So we're wondering where you're flying over. N6WLM, back to that.
Thanks, Bill. I'm glad to hear you got good copy. George, N6YG, any comments?
Let's see. I was working on. Is that Frontier Airlines? I see green on the engine cowl.
No, that's Southwest.
Okay. Yeah, it's a nice picture. I like the sunlight breaking through the clouds and lighting up the valley down there. Can't quite tell what you're flying over. where you're at.
Yeah, we were flying over to Colorado, and this was just as we were coming out of the clouds, getting ready to make the approach to the airport in Denver a few weeks ago. Several days later, we wound up driving through a blizzard back to the airport, but most of the time the weather was like this. So I appreciate that you all noticed the lighting and everything about the photo. I just thought it was a good image, and yeah, it's standard 737-800, and just coming out of the clouds and seeing the light, it just was a nice photo that I thought I'd share. Before I close the net, any other comments about anything else, anything we've shown tonight, or anything else?
You know, it's funny I didn't recognize it. I've flown into Denver quite a bit. Good picture, N6YG.
Thanks, George. All right, well, thanks to everyone who joined tonight's Slow Scan TV Net. This is the River City Arc's Wednesday night Slow Scan TV Net. We hope to see you again next Wednesday at 9 p.m. The net is officially closed at 9:46 p.m. Pacific Time. This is James, Alpha Echo 6, Juliet Golf, wishing all of you a good evening.
And I've got a closing picture to send to close the net out with, N6YG.
Very nice. I like that. Thanks, George. AE6JG.
I've got to find a new program to do the captioning with. This one is just too slow. It took like 30 minutes to get that one caption in that stupid picture. All right. We'll catch you next week. And Billy, you still online? November 6th, Whiskey Lima Mike.